So moving on now, let's have a look at this. How would you create that? So let's do this again. How would you create a panning zoom effect? So you could start your animation with something similar to that, and you kind of zoom in, and then your animation or whatever storyline you have set up kicks in. And you can see at the same time the clouds are moving too. It's similar to what we already did with the looping background, but slightly different. So try to pull a background. You can pull lots of backgrounds from online and see how you could utilize this or something you may have already created for your final project. How would you have that? So generally, right at the start of your animation, you may want something like this. So it looks nice and clean, crisp, and it zooms in. So you need to think, how many layers are there? How is it actually zooming in? It's actually the object that's coming forward as opposed to the camera, or you could say this is the area of the camera zooming in, giving you the effect that it's a camera that's zooming in, but that is not the case. So I'll give you the next 15 minutes, see if you can pull something from online. So all you need is generally just 2 layers. 2 layers. You just work with the front layer. How would you do that? So I'm going to pause the video, then we'll go through the solution. So one thing, the key component when you're creating, it's not just the background that's zooming in, it's also the gradients that are being utilized on the different objects. So you could see the shade here, and then it gets lighter. That gives you more of a 2D type of object rather than a flat symbol. So when you are creating any object, be it a background or a sprite or a character, try to ensure that you have the gradients, you're utilizing the gradients effectively. So I've taken an image and I've traced the image and I've got split into 2 layers. Of course, it does need much more work. So I've got the background there. It's just a huge, large-scaled image, and then I have the tree. And each time you kind of zoom in, you can see the tree kind of goes to the side. This generally, I've actually put it to the side so that the section that I've taken out doesn't appear within the image. So that's why I put it there. But you could see what that can do. It's slightly faster, so I may need to slow this down. So stretch it out to make it look a bit more cleaner. Kind of a slower transition. And of course, I'd need to get rid of those white sections. You can see how easy that is. And the image I actually took, this was the original image. So I copied it, traced it, and dumped it onto my stage. And with the other example, it's no different. Of course, it took much longer to create this image with the different gradients and the colors. So it's the same thing we're doing. So what's happening is the front, which is at the front, that's actually zooming in. Let me open that. So the front here, the front layer here, is a large layer. It's actually separate from the background. So the background is also actually moving, but at a slower pace. It's the front that actually zooms in. So you're coming to an angle at an angle. Now if we undo this, to watch this, let me open this again. You generally have separate layers for the foreground, the background, and something in between. And you'd have them move at different speeds to give you that effect. Now here, when we play this, you will see that the front is basically just zooming out. That's all that's happening. The stage is here. So when we play this, it's zoomed out. Of course, we could actually make it much smaller if we wanted to. Free transform, not all of it, just the front. Go back. So once again, of course, you could also introduce shadows there. So once it does zoom in, you could have shadows. So the shadows can also change if you have enough time to work on that. You can make it as realistic as possible. So just 2 layers, and the effect is it's amazing stuff you can do with just 2 layers by themselves. Other stuff that I have included within in this week's solutions is also rain. And if you want to have a rain effect, I've already included it for you, so you can actually utilize that. There are lots of animations that you can utilize into your own animation. You can grab from online. This was pulled from online, so you may want to incorporate that. So it's generally raindrops. The animation's been created, so you can just take that section and throw it into your animation. Why recreate the wheel if it's already been done? So the raindrops, this has been created. So if you do have a scene with rain in it, you could utilize that. So once again, it is actually under this week's solution files. There is one file that contains all the stuff I've covered. And finally, I'll go through another one, which is pulled from online. So it's a character that's moving. So you could have a look if you want to utilize something like that into your own animation. Yes, it is going to take a while to get that type of effect. But if you have a look at it, you're basically working on each object. The hand is separate, the arm is separate, the face is going to be separate. So everything is separate entities. This is a frame-by-frame animation. So yes, it probably took a while to get the right syncing. So once again, it depends what type of final project you're working on. There was another example I've given on Angel, which is syncing, lip syncing. And if you're going to have something verbal, you can utilize that. Yes, once again, it will take you much longer to do. So just make sure that you've taken into account the amount of time you have available and what you can do, what you cannot do. So you could have a look at this, if you're trying to work on particular sounds, or you may have audio incorporated into your animation. Remember, you should have sound. Sound makes a huge difference to any animation. So make sure you do incorporate sound. You could download MP3s from online. Make sure that you're not selling your animation, because then there may be copyright infringements. So if it's just for educational purposes, and by all means you can go ahead.